Hi, Blake with BlvdHome. Today we're talking about the top 3 issues that you can have with your washing machines and how to avoid them. And if you stick around, we'll throw in an extra bonus one at the end. Number 1, in my opinion, is overloading your machine. When you overload the machine, basically you are causing the machine to work way too hard. Because basically when you have in there, you have an agitator and you're moving that back and forth and you're trying to move those clothes. Well, with all these new machines, they have these huge deep tubs because they say, look, we got this huge deep tub, but when you look in your use and care manual, you're going to find out that it says, okay, well, fill it up to about halfway up the agitator. When you have that, you're like, well, why would I do that? I got this big machine. I can just keep stuffing and stuffing and stuffing because it fits in this machine. And you're right, it does. But the machine doesn't add that much water. Even if you select deep fill, it really doesn't add that much water. It fills about 3/4 of the way up. It is very detrimental on your machine. It does a lot of damage to working parts. It causes a lot of things to fail. Same is not necessarily true with a front load machine about overloading it. The thing with the front load machine, the biggest problem is not putting enough stuff in your front load machine, or just putting one heavy item and a bunch of light items in your machine. Because with the front load machine, when it goes to spin itself out, basically it is spinning those clothes to the outside and it's trying to make sure that that load or that tub is spinning at a constant rate as it's going around, and that's the way it knows that it's balanced. If I put a shirt like I'm wearing currently, I put like 5 of these in a wash machine with one big towel that's wet, there's no way that these are ever going to equal that weight of that one towel. So that is detrimental to those machines because it's not necessarily the agitate that has the problem with it turning, because that's not the issue. The issue with that is because it is spinning that load and it's going to be going out of balance all the time. And you're going to come in, you're going to look at this machine, you're going to say, gosh, my clothes didn't either spin out all the way, or it kept spinning for 20-30 minutes before it finally was able to find the balance to be able to spin the load out. Again, you are just taking all these working parts in this machine and you're working them harder than they need to be worked, because it's just doing twice the work that it shouldn't be doing for that washing machine, and it's just wearing it out. I know you're gonna say, well, it's just a little bit. Well, you know, a little bit over 5 years is a lot if you add it all together. If you can avoid doing that, that's great. Damage that can be caused from that is basically the machine basically beating itself. That's never a good thing. Now, another big thing, the balance of the machine. It's really important that these machines are balanced. Now with top loads, there's very little space between that drum on the inside and the cabinet itself. There's very little space. When that tub spins, you have to figure it like a top. When you spin a top, it's going to self-right and self-center and go straight up and down. Well, the same thing is going to happen to that basket. If your whole basket is leaning like this and your tub is self-righting like this, well, then it becomes really close to that edge and it starts beating on the edge of the machine. Again, doing damage to the machine as a whole. It's not really damaging the mechanics, but it's damaging the machine, it's damaging the case, it's damaging whatever's hitting. With the top load machines, a lot of the newer ones have these nice curved lids because they have this new modern look and they have this great curved lid. When you look down, they look really cool. And a lot of them have glass lids. You never measure the level of the machine off the lid of these machines. You always measure it off the side and also the front of the machine with your level. Make sure it's good and level. And then once it's level, a lot of the wash machines have nuts that are on the leg, and they're called locking nuts or jam nuts. Now at that point, once it's level, you take that nut on the leg and you loosen it and you run that nut up against the frame of the machine and you lock it into place. And then that locks the leg in place so the leg can't rotate or move while the machine's shaking and back up into it. And then when you slide the machine out to clean it, you have to get behind it. When you slide it back, it's in the exact same spot and the legs don't move. It does a better job washing because, again, water is self-leveling, and they use such little water in there that if your water is self-leveling, you're gonna have clothes outside the water if the machine's leaning one way or the other and not necessarily performing the way it should be performing. Front load machines are exactly the same thing, but in an opposite way. They spin so fast, you have to make sure they're level. But with those, you want to measure your level from the top of the machine and also from the side of the machine. The next biggest thing is people leaving items in their pockets. I know it's difficult to keep track of all the kids, and us husbands especially me, because I put stuff in my pockets all day long, you know, little bits of wire or a screw or something just gets stuck in my pocket during the day as working, and I don't clean them out. For most people, the issue is those items getting down into the pumps. In top load machines, it's more of items fitting through the small holes, so usually it has to be something thin to go down into the pump itself. A lot of the agitators you have this real thin gap around the agitator in them that coins actually drop down in that small gap, so when it agitates, it goes you know, when it's agitating, then people say, well, what's that noise? And I'll go there and I'll pull out, you know, a quarter or a dime or a penny, and that penny costs a lot of money. So you have to be aware of that, you know, because it's just that simple thing of just checking the pockets. And then also that stuff gets down into the pump. And once it gets down into the pump, then we have one of two options. Either whatever got in there hopefully just stopped the pump and prevented it from turning, or that pump has got in there and has actually burned out the pump motor, or it could have broke one of the fins inside the pump. Either one of those cases, the best case scenario is something just being in. I can remove it, put it back in, and you're good to go. The other two options, you know, you're paying for a new pump because you can't get away with the way it is now. We have to buy a new pump. So again, that costs you money. On a front load machine, they're different. A lot more things can get down into the pump a lot easier than they can on a top load machine, because you have that front boot that goes around. Go pull it back a little bit, and you'll see a gap that goes between the backside of that. That's the gap between the inner and outer basket. Now, anything thin can make through there. I found green army, and I found ammunition. I found handles. I found bobby pins. I found lots of stuff that have gotten down in there. A lot of times, you know, the wash machines have clean outs, that it gets trapped in the clean out, which the front loads do. So it's great because you can just pull the clean out. In all cases, it's not that great because you can get stalks and other things. They get stuck down in there and they get wedged between the inner and outer basket. Sometimes we can get lucky and remove, if your machine has a heater in it, we can remove the heater and find what's in it and grab it through that hole and pull it out. Sometimes we have to separate the drums to get it out. So there's really three big things that you really need to worry about with these machines. One being not overloading the machine, or you have the correct amount of clothes in a front load machine. Make sure the machine is leveled. And then three, make sure that you check your pockets. So I hope these tips were helpful to you. Definitely check them on your machine if you're concerned about this stuff. And you know, since I'm such a nice guy and I really like you guys, I'm gonna throw in a bonus tip for you on this. Soap usage. Make sure you use the proper amount of soap and the right type of soap with the machine, because putting the wrong type of soap in the machine, you're gonna have excess soap suds. Basically, you can get soap suds up around the rear bearing of the machine, and if you wash that grease out of the bearing, then you have a bad bearing going bad. You might as well go buy yourself a new one, because it's gonna cost you a lot of money to fix it most of the time, unless your machine is super expensive and you're absolutely in love with it and it's the only one that fits there. You might as well buy yourself a new machine. So we really appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again real soon.